let's kick off. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about website de-anonymization. I'm glad I was able to say that right first time, and real-time hot prospect alerts. So basically what we'll be covering today is company identification, turning those anonymous website visitors into outbound prospects, which is why we have Attila with us today as our very special guest. And in terms of the introductions, you may be familiar with myself and Helen. We normally run these webinars. So I'm Senior Technical Account Manager here at Lido. Helen is our Onboarding Development Manager. Today we have Attila from the sales team. He's a Senior Account Executive. So really happy to have a different voice on the webinar with us today. What we're going to be covering is an introduction to company ID and the journey insights, basically what we can learn from those website visitors. Then I'll throw over to Helen, who's going to talk a bit about sales alerts, which is all about automating the process of updating the sales team or the marketing team, or whoever needs to be updated about those visitors. And then we'll be going through a walkthrough of how we actually use company ID as a company. When we've done these topics before, we've been very theory-based about why you should use this, and here are some use cases for how to use that data. But we really wanted to have someone from our sales team on today to talk about how we actually use it in the real world. So there should be some really good insights from Attila there about how he goes through that on a sort of daily basis. And then we'll finish by setting up a sales alert, so you can see how quick and easy it is to set those up. And we have a few slides to cover, and then we'll be jumping into the platform where Attila will go through where he finds the data and how he uses it. So there'll be a few slides just to get through, and then we'll be jumping into the platform. And as Helen puts in there, any questions at all throughout, just go put them in, and we'll answer them as we go, and we'll have a wee bit of time at the end for Q&A. So first things first, company identification. What is it? So basically, we have a tracking script embedded on your website if you're one of our customers, and that picks up the person's IP, and then from there we create a unique individual visitor profile on that person. We don't store any personal data until they give us their name and email in a lead capture form, but we wouldn't store any personal information until that time. What we will store is the pages they visited. Where did they come from? Are they coming from certain campaigns? There's the UTM links. What source did they come from? That sort of information. Any discussions they've had with any of the bots, and then any conversions they've had. So even up until the point they convert, we're still creating a visitor profile on that person, and then we'll backfill it as a fully enriched contact record once they do convert. But what we do with that information also is we're trying to generate company profiles based on which company that person would be representing. And so we use a company called Clearbit. So we'll send the IP information to them through an API, and then they'll send us back who they think that person belongs to. And so if you have an idea of hit rate, it's between 20 and 40% roughly that we'd be able to identify. I mean, that will vary based on industry and based on the size of the visitors that you're getting to your site. Some of the smaller companies, if they're visiting them, might be lower hit rate on those. But generally speaking, if you had 100 visitors to the site, we should be able to identify 30 or so companies from those visits. And then what does that information actually look like? So you can see on the right hand side of the screen there's a screenshot of this, but we'll look at it in the platform in a little bit when we get to Attila's piece. But we'll be able to pull back the industry that they're part of, their headcount, their revenue, where they're based, a bit of a description about them, and that sort of information. And then that will allow us to create very targeted filters based on your own ICP, or activity on the site if you wanted to base it on intent. So we can create filters based around all that information. So if you were to serve, for example, accounting businesses were your main ICP that were 50 employees or more and had 100 million revenue, for example, you could create a filter of those so that you would only see those, a list of those companies within the platform. And so then you can really target those with outbound activities. And then that where we sink into the next part of the presentation is the automation of this, because as I'm speaking at the minute, this is sort of manual in terms of how we would create those filters, but then how do we alert the appropriate people about this information so that they can act on it in real time? And this is where I will hand over to Helen.
Thank you. If you can switch to the next slide and pop my face up for everyone, so you don't just have my voice. Oh,
you'll need to share. You'll need to share maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Bear with me 1 minute. Well, see, I wanted you to see my face, and now I'm in this situation. Okay. 1 moment.
There we go.
There we go. Awesome. So, as Gavin stole my words, but I'll go over them. So, Gavin obviously talked you through a little bit about company identification. Probably you already have some awareness of it. You might be already using it, and what you know is that you have to log into the platform and see it, which is fantastic. You've got all the data there, all your filters for your ICP, but it does require you to log into the platform. And we all want to make our lives easier and do that, so we can deliver the information to us and then take action, which is what the sales alerts are for. So we want to automate that process, make it more actionable for you with less effort. So using those same filtering qualities, we can be able to send those email notifications directly to either the person who's looking after the account. So there's a little bit of this that talks about at the bottom there about actually having this two-way talking between your CRM. So we know that. But in the basic function, you could just send an email to say this prospect that matches your filters has been on the site. It means that you can target them at the right time. So if you know that you're already having a conversation with Acme Inc., but they're on the website at that time, that is the most timely, point to reach out to them again, because they're obviously showing engagement, rather than someone who's completely cold, hasn't been on the website for weeks at a time. So it's just about, putting your prospects in an order of kind of the intent, the hotness of them. As I mentioned very briefly about the two-way communication, the reason for this is to make that even more targeted. And Attila will be showing you some of this because we've got that set up on our account to make sure that, if he is talking to a prospect and it's in his pool, he's the one who gets the email and he can get back on top of them, rather than it going into a group inbox, then getting picked up, and the delay that could be caused there. Hopefully that just gives you a really good introduction into what the sales alerts are. So it's kind of just making the company ID functionality even better. And I will probably hand over at this point to actually see it in action. And I'll let, so if Attila, if you want to share your screen, or is there another slide to share beforehand, Gavin?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're straight into the platform now.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks, Helen. Bear in mind, guys, this is my first ever webinar with this provider. So if I do anything crazy, that's
yeah. I think Gavin, you might have to do the selections. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Hey everyone. Gavin, how can I share my screen over here?
On the right hand side, there should be a little share option.
It's like a little computer screen with an arrow in it on the right hand side.
In the middle window. In the middle window.
Just see.
Bear with, guys.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, guys. I can't actually see it.
On where the webinar is, where you can see our picture and the audience chat, if you kind of hover over the main screen, you should see the kind of pop-up on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Do you see it?
No, actually, so I'm in the audience chat and I go to, I actually can't see any.
Okay.
Well, I can share.
Yeah,
I can share the platform for.
Yeah, you can talk us through it if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, but I think we can make it work this way. So yeah, just a bit of background. I'm Attila from the sales team. I actually am used to utilizing reverse IP tracking softwares from my previous roles. I'm a big fan, and obviously I love the inbound leads that we're getting from Lido, but from an outbound perspective, we have numbers to hit. Also, we have to bring a certain amount of our quota from outbound cold outreach. And this outreach, previously I've been used to using just like putting my finger up in the air and getting those, those target accounts potentially engaged. So with other IP tools, it was great that these outbound efforts can actually go towards accounts that have higher intent, which is fantastic. So I've been using tools like this before, but there are a few ways how Lido goes beyond that. Typically, the way I utilize the platform is I log in, I go to the conversion insights tool. So the screen disappeared.
Oh yeah, sorry, you want to be into here?
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, exactly. So I go into the company identifications tab, which is just a cool way to see that data that Gavin mentioned. Basically, if you scroll down slightly, Gavin, you're going to see immediately the logos of the accounts that have visited the website. How this becomes interesting to me is to be able to slice and dice that data based on certain accounts that I'm responsible for. So, for example, I am working in the UK mid-market region. So the way I usually start filtering is by actually just filtering out the UK accounts. So under the country filter, if you type in United Kingdom, yeah, exactly. That's one way to filter. And then I also usually add the revenue of the business to filter out just like SMB and mid-market. So I would usually start about 10 million and all the way up to 500 million. That's the one. So 2 filters are pretty much covering my my area of interest in terms of the accounts that I'm interested in. I actually don't usually have to go through this. I have my saved filter. So every time you can actually save that filter, as you can see in the right tab of with that button on the screen. I have my own saved filter, so I don't need to go through that process. But once I actually just check out those accounts, it immediately shows me that I have, how many accounts are we seeing on there? 220 accounts have visited the website with these parameters in the past 30 days. So that's a really good amount of ammunition for me. Everyone is using different kind of tools to identify who are the profiles within those accounts. What I'm more interested in these cases is how can I start a conversation with those accounts based on what? And this is really where Lido goes slightly beyond the traditional IP capabilities. So if you scroll down on that page, Gavin, you're going to see those 220 accounts. And if you just keep scrolling, it's great to have that information on there because it actually helps me to have a list of accounts to go on there. But what's even more important for me is to know how I can actually start a conversation. Because the good thing about having Lido on the site is that I don't just know the pages that those accounts have visited, but I also know the conversations they've had with the bots. I've actually seen Curve on our site. If you scroll down, Gavin, you might see the fintech company.
Oh, I think they were up a bit, weren't they? Oh, there we are.
No. It's CURV.
Oh, sorry.
It's a non-converted account. It should be like slightly lower.
There we
go. So actually, I am responsible for also financial services accounts. So what I could have done is I could have just done it like filter based on the industry segment. But you can see here, Curve is an account that is under our team's ownership. They basically have visited the website. I can see it's a non-converted account. So we actually don't have. If you scroll down slightly, Gavin, we're going to see that we actually don't know the visitors from that particular account. But there was quite a few visitors. From a marketing perspective, for the team, it's usually important where that traffic came from and all the analytics that we can pull from it. But for me as a salesperson, the only interesting thing is, okay, what is the information I have of this account apart from the page they visited on the site? So then I start doing a bit of research. I scroll down slightly. What you're going to see is that you see the pages that the account has interacted with. And if you scroll down further, Gavin, you're going to see a bot conversation. There we go. Discuss with bot.
Oh, here we are.
There we go. So this is something super powerful. When I'm crafting my outreach to these accounts, what I do is, okay, I know it's Curve. I look at some of the stakeholders. And because I can, obviously the personal information is hidden, so you cannot see what they said to the bot. But I am. So when I log into this, into the platform, they actually had a conversation with one of the bots, and the bot asked them, what are you trying to find a solution for? And Curve made a response. this is usually a great way to identify challenges, pain points, problems that they have, the level of the opportunity, how many people are in their business. So the sky is really the limit with this qualification. And I have these answers. So if, let's say, Curve said to one of the bots on our homepage that their main goal is improving lead generation, then I know how to start that conversation. I would do my outreach, and first of all, it's going to be high intent. Some of their team have been researching on our website. So I would just be very transparent in saying, I'm Attila from the Lido team. I've been picking up signals that some of your team has been doing research, so I thought it might be relevant to discuss potential ways to improve your lead generation strategy. Could that be interesting? So it's a very non-intrusive, kind of personalized approach. And I not say all the time, but when I do 10 hyper-personalized outreach like this, I get a very good, like easily 5+ response rate on those conversations. And it is only because I go through their history, and yes, I see what product pages they have visited, but most importantly, I see the conversation that they had with the bots, which is a huge plus. Apart from that,
just before you move on from that, Attila, can I cut in and ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
just for your information, I found the share your screen button.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, you can get that ready while I ask the question. I suppose so. We are providing the company information, but we don't give any personal data. So we are not giving you an email to go after. So you won't necessarily know who did the discussion at that point, especially if they haven't converted. So how are you getting to that endpoint? How are you getting to the actual person?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, there are several platforms that we're using here at Lido. We have used multiple technologies before. I actually recommend Casper as a technology that basically is leveraging the profile or the LinkedIn profile of the visitor to match that up with the database, and it basically shows you on the right side of your screen. I can show you if you want.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Share your screen and
share my screen. There we go. Okay, can you see my LinkedIn?
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, amazing. So basically, I have Sarah. She works for LinkedIn. Let's say that I am prospecting LinkedIn. I can see in the platform that LinkedIn has been an account that we've that have been visiting the website. Let's say I actually know the exact way to outreach to them because I've revealed some important information from these bot conversations. And I know I need to speak with Sarah. We use this tool called Casper, but also there are several out there. Rocket Reach, Zoom Info is one of them as well. They use similar databases. I find Casper the most user-friendly, actually. So it just populates the right side of my screen, and it always comes up. It comes up as a Chrome plugin. So I need to connect it to my browser. And if I look at someone from the LinkedIn team, in this case, like relationships manager would be Sarah, it immediately brings up Sarah's card. And we have a certain amount of credits that we can show to reveal personal information from people. In this case, they already have, I can see that they have an email address to Sarah. And if I click show, it's going to show Sarah's email address. Same with phone numbers. So it would also reveal phone number. I can send it directly to the CRM, but it's just a really good on-page tool to find out actually who are the profiles that I'm visiting. But there's a huge selection of tools like that. I think, the important part is to note how to have the conversation with Sarah.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful. Maybe one thing that I wanted to show you as well before jumping off here is my email inbox. Helen mentioned, are you okay for me to jump in there, Helen?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, actually, I wonder if you could show in the sales alerts itself, like I'll go through the actual setup, but if you can have just like show what it kind of looks like when it's actually coming through and then jump over into your emails after that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I love about the Lido tool is, I'm pretty sure that every salesperson loves it, is that we don't very often engage with the platform as much as we would need to. So it's great to be able to log in and slice and dice the data. the really cool thing is that basically on an account level, as you can see, if I open an account here, let's say BTS, for example, the platform immediately picks up the name of the salesperson associated with this account in the CRM. It basically works through a plugin with our HubSpot environment. So if a business comes to our website like bts.com, the platform immediately identifies who's the salesperson who owns that account within our CRM environment. And it immediately knows that, okay, BTS is actually an account owned by my colleague Angel. So the cool thing is that Angel, in order to not miss out on this opportunity and not having to log into the platform, he doesn't even need to log into the platform, because as soon as the platform identifies that he owns that account, he's going to get an email and also a CRM alert potentially from Lido. But the email is by far the most useful in my unique case. The platform sends me an email about what prospects are visiting my website, what are the hot opportunities. And you can see, actually, I'm getting them every single day. So every day I'm seeing my target accounts visiting pricing pages, and I get a literal email that says, hey there, you sales superstar, a company that you own in HubSpot has just been visiting our pricing page with the following information. If they interact with the bot, I can also see those interactions here. But I know straight away that they are a high level opportunity. They looked at the GTM, the Google Tag Manager instructions page, so they're curious about like maybe paid campaigns, and it immediately prompts me to be proactive and to outreach to those accounts. So the sales teams don't even necessarily have to log into the platform and use it. They can get these alerts straight into their email inboxes. Was this helpful?
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to see. And I wonder if you can show it from in the platform. So obviously you get the emails, which is fantastic, but can you also see like what has come through previously when you go in and look in the platform, so you can see like all the sales alerts, or even just share some of like your favorite ways to set them up if there's some settings that you find really useful when you're setting up the kind of workflow. And if not, that's fine, because I'll jump into how to actually set it up at the moment.
Yes, I think so. Again, I think my understanding of setting up a workflow might be slightly limited.
Okay.
I know from a user experience perspective, this is by far the most popular functionality amongst the sales team. So we look at those email alerts constantly, and this is a very good way to just prompt us to be more proactive with our outreach, rather than having to log into the platform. But of course, the platform actually has, once the workflows are set up, it can actually navigate those alerts quite easily. Maybe it's better if you show it, Helen, because you have more experience setting up.
I will do that. Don't worry. I think you've got people like us to help you out with that. So,
exactly.
But I will take over if Gavin, you will help me out, and then I'll just give you a quick view of what it looks like in the back end. And it is quite easy to set up. Obviously, we have like a marketing team which have set up a bunch for our sales team, but this is not to say that your sales team can't do this themselves as well. So I'm actually in our demo account, so all of this is test data. But what I was hoping to show you is, so this is one that we've set up. So along with those emails that come through, you can actually see on the back end here what's going on and whether things have or haven't been sent, and how they've been set up. So you can actually see the list of companies that have been pinged as an email. So as a marketer, maybe you just want to be able to know how many have gone through to the sales team. You can see that. So how do you actually set one up? So I'm going to edit this one just because there's a few details in here, and it will just be really useful to walk you through it with, some of this filled out. And what's good to know is we do have an article. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this call kind of going through every element. I just want to be able to give you a good idea, and then you can get stuck into it yourself. So
before you start, Helen, do you want to zoom in
yeah.
a wee bit? Just maybe it's my old eyes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No,
Just
thank you. There we go. Big screen, I guess. Better?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Obviously, these ones, self-explanatory. Give it a name so you know what it actually does. But underneath here, there's a couple options for, kind of how often you want to receive these emails about this particular prospect. So you might say that, within a week, I would like to be kind of pinged once if they're there, or maybe it's like every day. So, or just once completely. So you can kind of adjust how many emails that you're getting. The basic one here would be kind of using the page visit option. So like Attila showed you, he had that email that is just about the pricing page. So the useful thing about that is making it targeted. So we're saying, right, well, we don't just want to contact everyone and anyone who's been on the site. We'd like it to be someone who's showing high intent. So let's put the pricing page as our kind of trigger. And it could be that you choose a page that's about a specific service or product. So in our case, maybe we want to have one on our Lead AI page, which we do. So we can see, okay, which prospects are specifically interested in that product. So I can then reach out to them about that. But a basic one is the pricing page, really good option. Then under the conditions, this is where we start to get a little bit more into matching this to an ICP. So this one's on page visit count. So that gives us an idea of potentially, how interested they are, how engaged they are. But one that we use quite a lot will be kind of the industry. So for example, as Attila mentioned, he works a lot with kind of like fintech. So he'll want to set it up so the industry kind of matches that. So you've got all of the ones listed here. I'm just going to click one at random. So it means that they have to have met all of these conditions for this email to be sent. But it also means that once it arrives in your inbox, you know that they are a highly targeted, engaged prospect. On to the actions. Now, the basic one is going to be send an email. And you can set this up. So you can just do basic text, which is, I think, very similar to the one that Attila showed you, which just gives you the chance to have the basic information in there that you can action from. You can put a whole branded email in here as well. So some of these fields are just showing red because I'm not completing them, but you can kind of personalize these, make sure that they're going to obviously the right people. And if you do have a two-way setup, it's even easier because you can say, just send to the person who owns the account. In here, in the actual email itself, so again, you saw like we put in kind of macros for the pages that they visited and things like that. So that's all listed here. So you don't have to write this out. You can just say, right, well, I want it to show me all of this information. And that's all the information that will come through on that email. This is why I said that although the marketing team might have been setting this up for our sales team, it's very straightforward to do this yourself. So as long as you know what you want to target, set up that kind of alert to come through. If I step back here and go back to the list of workflows. So once you activate that, it will start working straight away and you'll be able to enable or disable it. So we've got a bunch of obviously demo ones that we've set up. You can even see how many times it's actually triggered. So that's a good indicator of, are you getting your targeted prospects on the website? What's happening there? But we would suggest setting up multiple ones of these. So not just one that does everything, but a few different ones that have like different functions. And as we said, like putting them to different team members or, kind of just, it might be a particular campaign that you want to run this for as well on a landing page. So quite a lot of scope, but I've hopefully given you a little bit of an overview and just an introduction to it. But what I'd really like you to do is just jump in there and try it out. So if you do have this tool, get stuck in. We'll be sharing the QR for the actual article that goes through this and, more steps and more detail. Or if you are interested in this and you don't have it right now, then we'll show you it in a bit more, detail again, one-to-one if you want to. I think I covered a lot quite quickly there, but is there any questions from anyone in the audience or even from my fellow speakers that you'd like me to show in a bit more detail?
I suppose just before we get into the questions, it's good you know us about the sales alerts. If you have it, get stuck in with it. The company ID piece is available for everyone, so everyone will have access to the company identification data. So that's included in all the packages. The sales alerts is on some of the higher end packages, and it's an additional add-on. So you may have it and you may not. And if you're interested, we could definitely set up some trial runs of that as well if that was interesting. But the company ID is able to use from day one.
And apologies, I'm in the demo account right now, which is why there's no data here. I'm not sure if we actually mentioned this button when you were going through it earlier.
No.
Okay.
Good one to have though.
So Attila actually talked you through the save filters that he has and that he's set up, which again, like we said, is great when you're going into the platform and you want to see the data that's there. The nice thing is that if you are starting with company identification, you just want to get used to kind of using this function before starting to use kind of the automated alerts. You don't have to set everything up all again. So you should be able to, use all of this and analyze data in, either one of the other analytics dashboards or create your automation from here. So we're just trying to make that even easier. So when you're ready, you can just say, great, I'm ready to set up my workflow with those conditions, those targeting. So we're trying to make your life as easy as possible to use this tool. And, why not make your life easier, cut out the time that it takes to do the prospecting. And that's why I guess Attila likes it so much, because it means he spends less time doing admin and clicking around in the platform and more time reaching out to the people that he needs to.
Nice.
Okay. Is there
I suppose one other thing maybe to cover would be this has been great to get an insight into like how we use it as a sales team, but I suppose we could be using that information for marketing campaigns and like exporting that data and putting it in. So maybe if you could show, just while you have the screen open, how that we could export that and maybe use it for LinkedIn ads, for example, from the marketing side.
From company identification.
Yeah.
Do you have a platform open by any chance?
Actually, yeah, because I've got the official one and I'll do that.
If you could, that would be fantastic. Because I know, and maybe you can go through that because I'll know the answer.
Yeah, it was perhaps a loaded question. So yeah, there's two sort of aspects we can use this. Obviously, the sales information that Attila has been focused on today is fantastic. But from the other side, from the marketing side, to sort of maybe warm up those prospects if needed, you can create those filters that are already there, and generate a list of a certain amount of companies that have visited within a certain time frame. And then this information can be exported, and that'll give you a CSV of all the company names. And then you could go to LinkedIn, for example, and then create a very targeted ad around that campaign. So you just be uploading like a customer list. So you could focus on certain ICPs, or if they've visited certain pages, like Helen mentioned, if you're already running campaigns and you've got them going to landing pages, you could create sort of full circle campaigns where if they hit those landing pages, we could then follow up with more targeted ads off the back of those. So similar setup, you would use the filters, and then if you would just come down to export, it'll export whatever's on the screen. So in this case, 135 companies.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Alrighty.
I guess we go back onto the slides so everyone has QR codes.
And as you say, we'll be sending these slides as a follow-up as well. You'll get the recording of this as well, and then the slides will be out from there. So you'll get access to these. So we'll leave it for a few minutes to see if we have any questions, and if not, we'll wrap up when we hit 40, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Attila. It's been great to have a different voice on. Obviously, we're usually doing these more sort of technical setup, so it's really good to get actual, like, how do we actually use this thing in real life,
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to join anytime, guys.
I think we'll be having you on another one, so get ready.
Sounds exciting. I'm getting in the hang of it now.
Yeah. All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions coming in, but if there's anything that pops up when you are, trying this out, or you're just curious about a use case, then, depending on who you're with and what stage in your journey you are with us, you can either reach out to me, Ryan, obviously Gavin, if you're working with him, or Alex, and, we'll help you out. We want to get you using this. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you do that.
Great. All the best, guys. See you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, take care, guys.